other side. Uh,
Your
hold
side?
on, let me fix my. I'm sideways. Hold on. Ah, let's see, there we
Hi
go.
there.
Hi, how are
I'm
you?
doing great. How are you?
Very good.
Good. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I'm really fascinated. I have a whole bunch of questions for you. Are you ready to tell a little bit about your story?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So tell me how you, what who you are, what you do. Let's start there.
Well, my name is Enid Parham, better known as Chef Sunflower.
Okay.
Um, I am a cannabis chef as of the moment, but I've always been a cook. So I've been a chef for about the past 20 years. And so
Okay.
I didn't get into cannabis until way later into my career. And it was crazy how I got into it because I always indulged in marijuana. It's just I never actually cooked with it. So I was dating this guy. He was like, he was a weed connoisseur. He was like, you should be cooking with weed. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what? I never cook. I haven't eaten an edible, and I've never cooked with weed. So I decided to indulge. I'm like, well, let me see what this whole edible thing is about. So I ate edibles. I couldn't handle it. So I was like Googling things on how to cook with it. And, I was making butter from like trim, stuff like that. And then it became a point where I was like, I didn't know what I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. We was having these parties, I was cooking with weed, people were getting high, but I didn't know what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? I didn't understand actually cannabis at that time. So I was just like having fun, making money, partying, cooking with weed, and we were doing it underground in the downtown Detroit scene. So it wasn't even legal yet. And so
Mhm.
what we were doing was having really private parties. Like you had to have a special invite. We was checking people, trying because we trying to make sure we wasn't getting arrested. And then the people we were cooking for were corporate people downtown, like lawyers, people that work for Quicken Loans, stuff like that. And they wanted to keep everything private. They didn't want their job so that they was, indulging. So it was like we were having fun, but I started getting feedback like that was too much for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting way too high. And so, but I felt the same way. I felt like this is not feeling good. I'm way too high. I don't think I know what I'm doing. So even though we were making money, I was just like, maybe I should, step back and learn about this thing because right now I'm just doing it for the fun of it. And I'm just doing it because I got introduced to it. And, of course I like to get high, but it was just, I wanted to understand how to, get people high and still have fun. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like if we get people high and they're not having fun, we're driving with our customers. And then another thing I was worried about, like these are corporate people. These are people, they were like from 20 to 50. So what if I get somebody, sick or something like that? Then we really all go to jail. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, let me take a couple of steps back and let me learn about this thing. Let me see what I'm doing. So I did that. About 4 years later, it was so funny because even though I was learning about this thing, I was ready to come back out to the world. I was like, okay, now I got a little bit more knowledge. Let me try to get back out here and show people what I have. And it was so coincidental that I was trying to find somebody else to work with, another people in the cannabis community to work with because by this time they're talking about legalizing it and things of that nature. And I'm like, okay, let me get back into this game. So I found a group of ladies that they are better known as Jessica Jackson and the Copper House. So I went to this party. My friend, she was like, well, come out to this party. I'm be selling edibles. And I'm like, well, I'm trying to, I was at that time, I was like in between jobs, trying to figure this cannabis thing out. So I wasn't really making any money. So I'm like, I really don't feel like going out. But somebody told me because at that time I was trying to produce a show and we needed a kitchen because my kitchen, as you can see from my vlogs, is pretty tiny. So he's trying to come up with this, they was like, well, just find a kitchen and maybe start doing a show and show the world what you can do. And so I went to this party and I met them, and it was just a magical experience because they were in cannabis. They were, a really fun couple, and it was like they had a very nice setting in the community. So they were already established in the community. They were doing their thing. And, they seen that I was a chef and they was like, well, hey, we've been looking for a chef. And went to their house and I see their kitchen. I was like, oh my God, this is a beautiful kitchen. I was like, this is, it right here. So, but I ended up joining them and it became a deeper relationship in cannabis. You know what I'm saying? I started learning about prohibition. I started learning about equity. I started learning about all the other things that didn't have to do with cooking. So I was like, how can I be a part of this community? So that's how I pretty much got my start into rolling out into cannabis.
So you started it, you realized that there was like much further you had to go in sort of figuring it out, but you knew there was something there. Like you knew that like this was something that, if you put a little thought into, could just be turned into some whole other thing. So like it sparked your imagination and your, all of that. So,
Yeah, yeah, everything. Yep.
so so thank you for bringing that up, because I've tried edibles before, and I think, so just for anybody out there who hasn't, when you eat something with marijuana, it doesn't kick in for a while. Like it might be a half hour, an hour. So you don't actually know how you're going to feel. You don't actually know how to do the proper dosage. Like you might eat a whole brownie and that's way too much, but you're not going to know about it until way too late. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge with edibles, is just like getting the dosage right. So you knew you were like blowing people out completely, and there was a way to do it and make it enjoyable. And that was the mission. That was the journey that you started on.
Yeah, so that was the journey. It was quite a learning experience. You know what I'm saying? I can explain, like if somebody talk about it, it's like, yeah, that's it. But it's such a scientific explanation into how all that happens. It's so hard to explain into words. You know what I'm saying? But once you start learning about the plant, about different strands, about what they contain as far as THC, CBD, and how much, and your body composition, you know what I'm saying? What kind of high you looking for? Somebody could be looking for pain. See, I didn't know all these things, the medical reasons, you know what I'm saying? I didn't look at marijuana as a healing thing. I always looked at it as recreational. So when I learned the healing aspects of it, and thinking that in my life, throughout my life of smoking weed, I didn't even realize that I was actually smoking it as a healing property, because I was a young single mother, and it was a very hard struggle to like be an upcoming chef, in such a misogynistic corporate setting, and then trying to deal with that as a young mother. I had like my bouts of depression, my struggles with mental anxiety, and always when I used to do it, I didn't drink. I used to always like smoke a joint, smoke a blunt, not knowing that I was medicating myself. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that smoking certain weeds, smoking certain strands, will relax you, or looking at the terpenes in the strand, that causes relaxation and all that stuff. So it was like mind blowing to me, like, oh wow, people really need this. You know what I'm saying? People really need this, because the doctor will always give me prescription medication drugs, and I'm just like, and I didn't handle it too well. You know what I'm saying? They give you these drugs and say, hey, take this for your anxiety, feel better. You know what I'm saying? But it really didn't make you feel better. You know what I'm saying? It was just taking a puff of a joint and then relaxing you, and you start to feel better or happier. I didn't understand why would you feel those effects with weed until I started actually cooking.
So you started to really have to understand the science of it, so you knew what best product to implement into your cooking. How long did it take you to really kind of figure out the dosage and like the different experiences you'd want to offer based on what you were going to use? Like, how long did you put together what you do? Like, how did it evolve into where it is today?
It took a couple of years, you know what I'm saying? Reading books and understanding how fast you get high once you start taking it, and actually just testing it out. So I had a lot of guinea pigs as friends.
Everybody was volunteering, right? I'm coming over for dinner tonight.
They didn't lie, you know what I'm saying? So it was just like testing things out, because that's one of those things you can say, because everybody is different. You know what I'm saying? It goes on body composition, fat composition. You know what I'm saying? When you eat, like say if you didn't eat for an hour, but I did, it might affect you faster or more than it does me, because I have already, you know what I'm saying, consumed, probably some type of fats or some type of carbs, and it affects it all. So when I was doing it, I had to study this. So when clients would come, I would say, well, I have to give them a whole list. Like, wait to eat for a couple of hours. Don't get full, because you might not feel it. It might not kick in for hours later. And then if it does, I had to learn about CBD, how to bring a person back down. If they, get too high, and sometimes it's just CBD, sometimes it's just something with black pepper in it. Sometimes it's something citrus, you know what I'm saying? So it was learning those effects, because I did when I first came out and I was trying to, make my little brownies or candies or something like that. People would get scared because of the experiences. So, in order to keep my customer base and have people still interested, you have to teach them about how to eat it and what to do if you might feel like you're getting too high. You know what I'm saying? And which kind of comforted people more into saying, okay, I'll try this again, because the worst thing to do is have a business that everybody is scared to, what I'm saying, partake in, because they had that one bad brownie experience, you know what I'm saying? And it was going to teaching other people that was out there interested in cooking in it, or was already cooking in it, cooking with it, to say, hey, don't do it this way. You're doing it wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because while you out here giving people bad experiences, they might not ever come back to it again. So now I'm losing the community and a customer base. You know what I'm saying? So it took a couple of years. So yeah.
And so I found an article online. I don't know if it was like the Free Press or something, where they wrote about a meal that you had created. And so can you kind of walk me through, like, you don't have to give me like exact like meal planning, but like if you were to, like, your ideal like opportunity to cook for, to provide like a multi-course meal for people, like what does that look like for you? What would be like your ideal, where you could design the whole menu to present it, to provide this experience? What does that look like?
Oh, so my thing is, I like to, if it's like a gathering of people, my thing is like to have to like go.
Uh-oh, we're
Okay.
hold on. Yeah,
Yeah.
the video has been a little fuzzy the whole time, but the audio has been fine, and the audio just kind of cut out. So
Can you hear me now?
yes, I think you're coming back. You're still
Okay.
frozen, but I can hear you.
Okay. So my ideal meal would be to get people like high, like really not really high, but enough to feel the effects and say, "Whoa, something is happening here." You know what I'm saying? So kind of bring them up and then bring them down. So my whole thing would like start with like a great sativa or hybrid, something that gets the party started, people laughing, people talking. You know what I'm saying? And then hit them with something a little bit heavier, so they can get that dosage of feeling like, ooh, this is something that's happening here. And then during the whole party situation, during the evening, probably provide them something to start bringing them back down. So like a CBD or another sativa to either uplift it or like kind of smooth out the high. So a meal of that, people have to take in consideration when there is like alcohol involved and more cannabis, because sometimes people like to smoke still. You know what I'm saying? They come to the party, they have after they bring their own recreation. So you have to take and alcohol. So you have to take all these things in consideration when you are preparing a whole meal. You see what I'm saying? Because you want to take it more, if for filling they're going to be taking in. So my thing is like start them, get them up there, get them laughing, get them giggly, and then get them high. I rarely get people that say I want to be stoned. You know what I'm saying? Because they're entertaining other people or they're having fun. I do get some medical patients that will come to me and say, "Hey, I'm pretty high. My dosage is pretty high because I might have cerebral palsy or something like that." And they say you could just take it up there. So they automatically getting like 300 milligrams, 350 milligrams, but they can take it because that's what they're used to. So my thing is finding out what people are used to, finding out what the basic crowd is used to, because sometimes you'll get a party and it'd be like no voice and it'd be like expert, and you want to find that fine line in the middle where everybody can have a good time. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it takes a lot. Yeah, it takes a lot of planning. Yeah.
I bet. And then also, like, the more you eat, the more of a dosage that you're going to get. So you also, I think, probably you have to think about, like, what if somebody has seconds or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, so you have to spread it out. So like if you're having a party and it's just a buffet, so what do you put on this buffet? So my thing be like, well, maybe we should just do like 2 milligrams. So that way people can have like 3 or 4 bites, you know what I'm saying? And say, okay, now, or 5 bites and say, I'm up to 15 milligrams. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say it all depends on the party. If they sit down and having a 3-course meal and they want that whole 20 to 50 milligrams in the meal, so you have to break that down, like probably 10 here, 10 here, and 20 here, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's called the term is micro dosing. So it's you micro dosing to get people to a level, but you also have to think about the chemical balance of all these, different strands and their terpenes and what you're using, because it's not only the high, it's the feeling. So if I'm giving you something with a terpene that, gets you all happy and this, that, and the other, then I turn around and give you something like linalool, which is relaxes you. So you have to think about all that chemical imbalance and how everything works out together. So, and it's fun. To me, it's like a puzzle now, because it's like, oh, I get to go shopping for weed and find out the terps and what this carry. And it's like, it's like offering it to your client, you know what I'm saying? Which makes it even, more of a special gift, because you can say, look, I found this great farm. I actually, do research. People also need to research where their product is coming from. You know what I'm saying? Just don't pick up Joe Schmo got it. You know what I'm saying? Find out what that farm is using. Is it organic? If are they using chemicals? Are they, you know what I'm saying? What has been their rating? How do they get inspections? So that's all important too, because you don't want to get something is some other chemical imbalance in there that they use from some, try to grow their weed a little stronger and use these chemicals, and now all that is in there too. You know what I'm saying? So it's really a fun thing. I look at it as a fun thing. I love to go shopping for weed and looking up and researching what a strand does. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
almost like you're curating the entire experience for them because you have to take
yeah.
so much into consideration. Can you easily explain what terpenes are? Because I am not. I've heard it before, but I have no idea what it actually means.
Terpenes. How can I explain it? We have it in our regular herbs too. So herbs carry terpene profiles, and so terpenes are those profiles that, how can I explain? It causes the euphoric feel. It causes the feeling. So terpenes, it either can take you from a happy place to a very relaxed place, relaxed state. You know what I'm saying? So you got like citrus. It takes on, how can I say, it takes on the whole euphoric feeling of it. You know what I'm saying? That's what actually gives you your high. So whatever the terpene is what is how you're going to be feeling. You see what I'm saying? Either you're going to be happy, some weed make you cry, you might get, you know what I'm saying? So that's what terpenes do. So when it
Okay.
connects to your cannabinoids in your body, that's what it does. So it gives you that feeling, that euphoric feeling. So you have to learn about what terpene is in this, how this terpene is going to affect me. Am I looking for something that's going to relax me, or I'm looking for something that's going to make me smile, or I'm looking for something that's just going to make me numb. You know what I'm saying? Not feel nothing at all. So it's a lot of different experiences in that. And I'm
Okay.
not a nerd, but I know people that can like break it down and say, well, this connects to this. This is like a machine. It's almost like a machine. It's like boom, boom, boom. You know what I'm saying? Yep. See, it gives you the strand effect and smell and the flavor. It does, because sometimes you might have, like when I use certain terpenes, it can resemble like rosemary in your food. You know what I'm saying? So I might use one strand and I don't have to break it down into butter or nothing like that. I could just decarb it and add it to the food because it already has that nice herby rosemary, flavor. You know what I'm saying? So it's not all about always making butter with it or breaking it down into sugar or tincture or something like that, because sometimes the natural plant itself just does the job and it tastes okay to eat. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're using things like trim, then that's when you get all that plant taste and the taste of that you really don't want. But when you use it like straight bud, the bud actually, that's when all that goes away. You can do more things with it. So I had to learn that too, because a lot of people just take shake and trim and they'll just say, oh, I can make some butter. You know what I'm saying? And then you get to eating it. It's like, ugh, what's that taste? You know what I'm saying? So you also have to figure out how to get that plant taste out of there, and everybody don't realize that, because most of the time they're just trying to get high.
Yeah, I can see that there is a whole gourmet process that goes along with it. I thought that in order to cook with cannabis, you had to make butter. I thought that it had something to do with like the fat solubility in your body. So there's obviously the there's obviously so much more to it than you could even think. What is your favorite way to prepare cannabis?
My favorite way, like I said before, since I'm a cook, because I did it all different kind of ways. People sent me machines, the magic butter machine, and all. To me, if you are a naturalist, you will figure out how to use that plant just like it is. It's like a herb. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is I basically like to just use decarb weed and make sure when I'm putting it in a recipe that it matches well profile flavor wise, you know what I'm saying, or even just the smell. So because I don't really, they have all these different products you can buy now, which is good for people that is not used to cooking with it or decarbon with it and understanding it. They can just say, I take this little drop, put it in there. Then, you know what I'm saying, they can do whatever to medicate themselves. But me, I'm just so old fashioned that I just like to break it down from the beginning. If I am making sugar or butter, you know what I'm saying, I like to do it the old fashioned way, because sometimes I find with so a lot of these machines, you know what I'm saying, it kind of alters the taste or alters the color or murks it up, and then you try to put it in the food, and then, the food is like murky looking and stuff like that. So it's like the very natural way of processing it. So that's what I am. I'm kind of like a naturalist, you know what I'm saying? So that's just
Yeah.
me.
So let's talk about how you like. When did you fall in love with cooking? Like, when did you start cooking?
I fell in love with cooking. It's so funny because cooking to us was like a natural thing. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't go to school for it, but it was like a natural thing in our family, because my grandmother, she was from down south, and so she came up here like with most people with the auto industry boom, and then they tried to make it living in the city, but her living in the city meant still having a full garden in her backyard. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or visiting my aunt in Three Rivers who had a full farm with chickens and everything. Well, we had to learn how to cook on it. So it was something naturally. And our family was pretty big because my grandmother alone and her husband had 12 kids. So it's like, how do you survive, when he's working in the auto industry and it's not paying you that much? You learn how to, basically cook for yourself and stuff. So it was always a loving thing. I always like cooking because it brought our family together in the kitchen, because when we prepared meals, we had to prepare for a big family. So it was always women in the kitchen, a very old school way. I didn't, even when I got into cooking, I still wasn't interested in becoming a professional cook. You know what I'm saying? I was working at the Ritz Carlton, but I was working as a housekeeper. And so when they used to put in the VIP rooms, they used to put these like giant chocolate chip cookies in there. Can y'all see me? Am I still frozen? Or
You're
am I
still
moving?
you're still frozen. If you want, I don't know if like closing out of the room and then coming back in. If you want to try
Uh-huh.
that, maybe we can reset it a little bit.
Yeah, let's try that. Hold on.
Okay,
Let me do that.
I'll be here.
Okay.
All right, Enid will be back. We are going through tech issues. Could not see her. The video component it was frozen. So she's going to come back in, and we are going to bring her back up as soon as she gets back in. So thank you everybody for checking out this interview. It's very different than what I normally do, but it's super fun. Just hearing about the artistry that goes behind and the science that goes behind cooking with cannabis. So if you have any questions at all, you can throw them in the chat and I will make sure that we get those questions answered for you. Hi, Enid, bringing you back up. Let's hope we can see your... Okay, well, I can definitely see you moving.
Okay. So...
Oh no, and now we're frozen.
So
again.
I worked at the... Hold on, let me see. Let me try something.
I blame Comcast, just for the record. It's always Comcast's fault. So we are doing some tech support right now. See if we can get a better signal for Enid so we can see her lovely smile and not just hear the voice. So I'm not sure what she ran off to do, but I'm assuming it's something having to do with resetting a router or something. So she will be right back. I hope you're all enjoying the conversation. Enid.
Oh, am I here?
You're here. It's a little blurry. I said it was probably Comcast's fault. It's always Comcast's fault, right?
Yes, always. Uh-huh. I was trying to search for something, this thing I had, which brought it, so I can use the hotspot. That way, I don't know, sometimes up in this loft, it gets a little tricky where you at and how the internet streams. So, but I can't find it.
The only other thing I could think of is if you turn off the Wi-Fi and you just go with your cellular data, that might help resolve it. Because maybe your phone is trying to figure out if it's on cellular or Wi-Fi, and sometimes you don't get the best signal when that happens.
Yeah.
Okay. So hi there, everyone. Hi, Sydney. we're just dealing with some tech support right now. We have a little bit of a blurry image on Enid's side, so we're just trying to resolve that. And we will be rejoining the conversation shortly. But you all missed some interesting stuff related to the science and the artistry of cooking with cannabis. Hello, hello. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat.
Okay, that's right. Are we still here?
Yeah, I can hear you well.
Can you see me?
No.
Ah! Good old-fashioned technology, huh? Can you see me now?
No.
You can?
No, not at all.
Can you hear? Okay, I'm going to close out and I'm going to come right back. Let's see if that helps.
All right.
Okay.
We're going to close out, come right back in, and hope that that it improves the video quality. Audio seems to be fine. If not, we'll just continue with audio only on her side. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming to check this out. And if you missed any part of this conversation, you can go back and rewatch it at a later date. It will be on my IGTV. And Enid is super fun and lively. And let's bring her back up here. All right, trying to bring you up here. Okay, there you go.
Okay. Okay, boom, I'm here.
Okay,
so
a little fuzzy, but we can see some movement. So we were talking about the love for cooking from your large family. Is there any like special family recipes, like things that your family specialized in that kind of like maybe you've brought into cannabis cooking?
Yeah, so my grandmother, since she was the cook, my grandmother was to me, my mother's side of the family, this is from my father's side. So my mother's side of the family were like, the professionals, the college students, stuff like that. Even though I had them on my grandmother's side, it was just, my mother's side, it was more like go out to eat. My grandmother cooked on that side, but like the younger people.
Uh-oh. I'm not sure what just happened. Are you still there, Enid? I'm not sure what happened. Try to bring you up again.
Hello.
Hi. I don't know. For some reason, you got disconnected and came back up.
So to continue, and so with my grandmother, it was strange to see her. And when I would go over there and spend summers, she was the type of woman, because she had a house full of kids anyway to cook for, which was like her grandkids, because we all came over for the summer. My grandmother, she would work all day and then get up like 5 a.m. in the morning before all the kids woke up. And I used to watch her, and she would get up and she would cook these big breakfasts. Like her thing was, she was Southern, so her thing was to cater to everybody, needs and wants. So she would cook this big breakfast. It would be a whole spread of like pancakes, eggs, bacon, toast, some type of sweet, some type of fruit. So it was a whole spread. And she would cook this like not only for breakfast, but then she would do this for lunch. Then she would do this for dinner. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like, Willy Wonka factory, and you just see all this spread of food. Like, what is going on here? Like, I've never seen nothing like this. So I was always intrigued to learn, and she taught me that. But I never thought about it as a profession. You know what I'm saying? I never thought about it. I could be a cook for a profession. You know what I'm saying? At that time, I was young. I wanted to be a rapper. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm gonna be a rapper. I'm gonna be a dancer. I'm gonna make millions of dollars in videos. You know what I'm saying? Until I started working at the Ritz Carlton, and I was working as a housekeeper, and that experience opened me up to a whole nother world of cooking, because I used to be on the floors cleaning in like these VIP rooms, and they had these, my grandmother, she was a good baker, so they would have like these giant chocolate chip cookies, that was fresh with the macadamia nuts and the chocolate chips, and I'm like, where's these cookies coming from? So I will always like venture off into the kitchen when I couldn't find it in the room. I'm like, I gotta go get one of these cookies. So I would go down to the pastry kitchen, and the chef there, he was from Sweden. And, we used to have these conversations about sweets and cakes and stuff like that, because I used to talk to him about my grandmother and what I used to make and this, that, and the other. And he was like, you got a lot of knowledge about cooking already. He was like, why are you a cook? Because I was like, I didn't, I'm not thinking about being a cook. This is something I do naturally. And so he told me, he said, well, if you become my apprentice, you know what I'm saying? You can study with me and become my apprentice. I will teach you everything you know. And so
Wow.
me not knowing how, me just working as a young teen at the Ritz Carlton, you don't think how that was a great opportunity. You know what I'm saying? And you don't think, when you think about the Ritz Carlton, I'm thinking about just making money at this fancy hotel. But to entail and have this, because this chef was so famous that when he left the Ritz Carlton, he went out to Beverly Hills to work. But see, I didn't fathom that, as a young kid. So he offered me the apprenticeship, and I took it, and I started in pastries, and I did the whole course, and I went from pastries to garde manger to banquets. So I learned all my technical education that way within those 7 years I was there, because I was there for like about good 7 years. So, and that was one of the best experiences I had, to open my mind up as far as how cooking can go, how technical it go, how scientific it can go, and how beautiful you can create things with food. So then that's when I became so enthralled in it. Like, I love this, you know what I'm saying? Because food brings people together, and not only that, now I know how to be creative with it. So it was really a blessing in disguise. So that's how I became a cook, and I've always been in love with cooking, because it's like I'm a nerd with with cooking. So I like to, learn new things and how to put it together and how to make it taste good. So I think that's when people have a passion and a love for what they're doing, and always willing to learn and have the curiosity about it, that's when it turns into a career in your profession. You have to love what you do. Yep.
Absolutely. So, and where was this Ritz Carlton?
This was at the time when it was in Dearborn.
Okay.
So that's how long ago that was. Yeah.
So you're a teenager at a Ritz Carlton in Dearborn, working in housekeeping. There's a restaurant in the Ritz Carlton with a famous chef, and you go.
No, it wasn't a restaurant. He was part of the actual hotel cooking crew. So we had the restaurant, but then he was part of like the whole banquets, and he would make these elaborate displays. Yep. So that's where I was.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you go looking for chocolate chip cookies, you wander and meet the pastry chef, who then, after, getting to know you, offers you an apprenticeship, which sounds very unusual, because you would think that most chefs want to work with people who've been formally educated in the culinary arts. So it seems like kind of like a magic moment where, like, it just, he saw something in you, like he saw your talent, he saw your drive. Like, what do you think kind of he saw in you where he wanted to take you under his wing?
I think it was the knowledge about the cooking because my grandma, like I said, she cooked. I didn't understand what she was doing, because she didn't even use measuring cups. You know what I'm saying? She would teach us, but it was like by putting so much in her hand. But it was the things I would tell him, even though I didn't know the technical terms for him, he knew I had some type of knowledge about food. Because we would sit, and I would get off work and I'd go looking for those cookies. And then he seen me being curious about food, like what is this and what does this do and how. And I used to always come when he used to make these elaborate wedding cakes. So it was always the curiosity of what he was doing that I would sometimes like take back home and tell my grandmother, like, look, I learned this and this, that, and the other. But it was just having the curiosity. I think it was more of the curiosity for it. And then me and him talking about food and him seeing that I had some knowledge about food and I just needed a little extra encouragement. So I believe that's what it was.
And maybe that you were, open-minded enough where you didn't know the rules. You know what I mean? Where, I feel like when you go through a formal process of learning the culinary arts, like you have to learn the steps and the rules, and somebody who's sort of an outsider maybe just has a different um like perspective. Like you're not going to be like, well, you can't do it this way, or because you're just like open-minded. So maybe that was also part of it.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah. But it was fun, and I look back at that experience now, and I was like, that's one of the greatest experience I could have ever had as a youth, and I didn't realize it at the time, but yes, it was. It was a very great experience. hmm
And so what happened after that? Where did your cooking career take you from there?
So after that, after the Ritz Carlton closed, and it was due because of 9/11. So when 9/11 happened, it was I'm in this field, and I'm learning all these wonderful things, and all of a sudden 9/11 happens, and it takes out the auto industry, the tourist industry. It took out a lot of things, and so I fathomed that as a youth. I didn't quite understand what was happening. You know what I'm saying? Because you live in this, dream world. Like I'm in this place. I love it. That was the first job I ever had, and actually kept for a long time. As a teen or you always running around different jobs. You're really not interested in, but I actually loved that job. So that was a job that I had, and when 9/11 took it out, and then they became, everybody. I didn't understand. He left, people were leaving, people were getting fired, they started, downgrading things. And this was like a cultural shock. It was a shock to me. Like, what are we doing? This is not what we do. So I didn't know how to handle it. And I kind of fell out of it because after like, went down, turned to Marriott, and then it was like, you go out into the world, you try to get a cooking job, and it's just not the same because prestigious things happen, and it's like, oh, my life is coming to an end. When nobody hiring cooks because wasn't nobody making money from cooking. So I ended up going to Wayne State. I got out for a minute. Went to Wayne State, and I went for television and broadcasting. So I took some courses in how to make movies, stuff like that. So, and then I carried that I went into the film industry for a while, helping people, like little television segment, video shoots, music. That's how I got back into the world. And then all of a sudden, Detroit started opening up again for food. And I wasn't living in Detroit at the time. I was staying like way out in Rochester. But I always used cooking as a hustle, as a way to keep busy, but I wasn't doing professionally. So some couple of years I got out of it. And then all of a sudden I hear boom, the restaurant industry is coming back into the city. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm going back home. I kind of like, I was missing it. So I was like, I'm going back home. I want to go cook, and so I headed back to Detroit. We moved back to Detroit, and I had another cultural shock because, once you learn all these prestigious things from a place like the Ritz Carlton, and then any other place you go, you kind of hold that standard up, because they held you at a standard. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you come back down here and you rush into the cooking world again, and you still see that it's not the same. You know what I'm saying? So you would get all these fancy smancy restaurants making all these fancy menus, and some of them were good, and some of them it was just like they were just making up things. It was like you can't really execute this because this is not exactly what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? It was like a pretend thing, and I didn't know how to adjust to that. It's like, what is this? You know what I'm saying? This is not professional, cooking industry. It was like somewhere along the line, professional cooking became downgraded. You know what I'm saying? They just wanted a body who can know how to cook instead of somebody who was, really wanted to cook and had the cooking skills. You see what I'm saying? So it was like the industry had kind of changed to me, and it was um, a very cultural shock. So I ended up getting out of those fancy restaurants because it was kind of breaking my heart. And I ended up in some of the little mom and pops. You know what I'm saying? Some people, but in those little mom and pops, they had more authenticity. You know what I'm saying? It might not have been the fancy foie gras or this, that, and the other, but I still learned things. So this is where I started learning about sustainability and vegan food and vegetarian food and stuff like that. So I kind of scaled myself back, and it was like relearning this cooking thing all over again. And I had fun with it, even though it didn't pay a lot. I learned a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because I started working at a place called Brooklyn Street Local, and then that's when I started learning about sustainability, the community, and how we recycle things, and how we use food, and how we try to use it all, and our carbon footprints and stuff like that. And so it just became this unbelievable world. So I did that, and then I started just finding these spots that I could learn things from, or like be a part of a family, and which was a couple of places. And so I eventually ended up at Comerica Park, which is strange. It wasn't the most fanciest place, but yet and still the job that I had, it gave me an opportunity to show my skills and things of that nature, because I started cooking. At first I was running a restaurant in there, and that chef there too, he seen that I had some type of quality skills, and he put them to use. And so I started cooking for the Enids. So I cooked for their suite, then I started cooking for the actual Tiger players. Then I went across the street and helped out with the Pistons. So it was just like, now I'm in this realm of, actually cooking it and enjoying it again. And so, but then I created a Pistil, which gave me another opportunity, to show my skills, and with cannabis. So that's where I'm at right now.
And so where did the name Lucky Pistil come from? Is that pistil is a part of a plant?
Yeah, so that the pistil is the part of the plant, of the cannabis plant, to determine what that plant is going to turn out to be, whether it's the terps, the smell, whatever that plant is going to be, is the pistil that says this is what you're going to be. You know what I'm saying? So I felt out in the cannabis industry, I was trying to get in so bad. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I was so happy that I ran across people that was in the community, because I wasn't a part of the community. I was just a woman, black woman chef trying to cook. And sometimes you have to overprove yourself in these industries to say, what I'm saying, I have skills. Because first they look at you and say, well, they judge you just by looking at you. First you're a woman, then I'm black, and then they automatically assume that you don't know anything. You know what I'm saying? So I figured that I'm going to push this thing and make myself my own luckiness, and determine how my career and life is going to be in this cannabis industry. And so that's what I started doing. So when I started learning about the plant, because it was like I was going through, I felt lucky. A lot of people say, well, you just worked hard. No, I felt lucky because a lot of people work hard and have hard determination, but a lot of people, quit and give up. You know what I'm saying? And then you try to find people to help you, no help. So you have to do this thing alone. And I said, if I make this thing, I'm very lucky to be able to determine my own future in this cannabis business. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I came up with Lucky Pistil.
I love that name. That is so, it's deep, but it's also kind of funny.
Yeah.
So we don't have a ton of time left. So I think I just want to wrap up by asking people, or asking you, how, if people have seen you on here and they're interested in what you do, how can we support you? What do we do? How do we get more Enid and more Lucky Pistil in our lives?
Just watch, because now I'm going into I'm actually going into the virtual world, and I got a lot of things that's coming up, and I can't really talk about right now, but it's going to be things where I can bring this, other people, bring this education, about cannabis and cooking to life like I want it, because I want people to learn this, and I want people to see this. So just follow me and support. I support a lot of different cannabis nonprofits. So if you follow me and follow, what I do on Lucky Pistil at Instagram or Lucky Pistil at Facebook, if you follow me and, just become a part of my world and see what I do and support me, that's support enough. You know what I'm saying? I'm not looking on here to be like, hire me as a catering gig, stuff like that. I really want people to start understanding this community. You know what I'm saying? As far as, I started learning about incarceration, the prohibition about cannabis. It's a lot of things that people don't know about. You know what I'm saying? That's happening, that we as a community need to come together and try to form some type of bond to strengthen this and to help other people out. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a sad thing to see when something you love so much and you're doing and building on, and all these companies is making billions of dollars, and all these other people that's been left behind, or their life has been damaged, or their family lives has been damaged, you know what I'm saying, by the prohibition, and then they can't still get in the game. It's like, how do you, tear families apart, arrest people, give people years, 10 years, for this plant, and then turn around and have some company come and get on the stock market and start to make billions of dollars. You see what I'm saying? It's like you can't, like, it's like a snatch and grab. Oh, we grabbed you for it, we nabbed you for it, but now we about to make money for it, and you're still sitting away rotting somewhere. We didn't pulled you from your family. Your kids probably went to foster care because we have raided you and locked you up, but now we're going to make millions of dollars off of it, and we're not going to, give back to the people that was, damaged by that. So that's a real passion of mine, and I'm trying to figure out how to navigate and to best help the cause for that, because I just don't want to talk about it. I want to be about it, but I want to actually be very productive in having some type of outcome in that. So I'm becoming more virtual now, and people can support me just by watching, joining, and just listening to, if I'm telling them about a cause, just trying to help that cause.
Well, Enid, thank you. It has been such a pleasure talking to you. I will tag your Instagram when we close this out, so everybody can go follow you. And so you can kind of, if people want to get involved, it sounds like with a little bit of like the activism behind the cannabis, cannabis in Michigan, that you'll be able to kind of help guide people on what's important. And so appreciate you saying that as well. So my name is Jan, and this is actually my last interview that I will be doing in this series. So Enid, I saved the best for last. So thank you for joining me. I always want to promote small businesses, and I will continue to figure out ways to do that, whether it's doing an Instagram live series or something else. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. I can't wait to follow you and see what you're doing, and hopefully get to sample that food at some point. So thank you very much, and everybody have a good night, Detroit.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.